Hello, and welcome to How to Write and Submit Effective Conference Proposals. My name is Suzanne Rizzo, and I'm a senior instructor in the English Language Institute at the American University in Cairo. I'm also a member of the organizing committee for the 2014 Nile TESOL Conference. You may do this workshop individually or as a group. There will be instructions for both as we go along. Today we will discuss your previous experiences at different conferences. We'll then go over the proposal writing and submission process, and finally analyze some sample proposals. Before we begin, I'd like you to go to the conference Google site. Look for the call for proposals on the left-hand side and print out the handout that goes along with this workshop, which has samples of proposals. Also, print out the proposal rubric. Let's get started. Think back to the conferences you have previously attended. How did you decide on which presentation to attend? Pause the recording here and jot down some ideas. Now compare your reasons to these reasons given by past workshop attendees. They listed the topic. They were interested in the topic as a reason for attending a presentation. Another one is to learn a new technique or method. And finally, the session summary attracted their attention in some way. Now let's think about some effective presentations that you've attended. Think back to a presentation that impressed you. What were the specific aspects that made it impressive? Go ahead and pause the recording again and jot down some ideas. Now compare your reasons to the ones given by past workshop attendees. They felt that effective presentations were very dynamic and engaging, very organized. The presenters' flow was very structured and they could easily follow. This one's especially important. The session itself matched what the session summary said in the program book. They were able to learn something new or get some useful resources. And the presenters allowed enough time for questions and were able to answer their questions very clearly. Now, think back to a presentation that disappointed you. What made it so disappointing? Again, pause the recording here and jot down some characteristics. Once again, compare your answers with the reasons given by past workshop attendees. An effective presentation were those that did not match the summary in the program book, so their expectations were not met, and this made the presentation very disappointing. If the presentation was disorganized, or too short or too long, demonstrating that the presenters weren't prepared. And lastly, the presenters did not answer the questions that were asked, or their answers were still not very clear. So where should you begin? As Stephen Covey says from The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, begin with the end in mind. So what do you want your session to look like? Picture it in your mind. Do you want a lot of audience participation and interaction? So perhaps a workshop? Do you want to teach them how to do something? Or do you want to demonstrate an effective technique or method? Or would you like to gather a group of colleagues to discuss a hot topic? So think about what you want your session to be. Also important in determining what your session will look like and be is the call for papers or call for proposals. This will tell you about the conference theme, the interest sections included, and the audience the hosts wish or expect to attend. The proposal guidelines. This document is very important to determine what are the criteria needed to be included in your proposals and any limits to word length. Also is the proposal rubric. This is very important because it determines how the reviewers evaluate your proposal. Pay attention to the categories and the scoring. Last but not least is edit and proofread. This point cannot be stressed enough as reviewers will be looking at many proposals. What's going to make yours stand out as if it is edited and proofread well. And lastly, any deadlines that the conference has for accepting proposals. For the NIO TESOL conference, the deadline is fast approaching with a September 30th deadline. Now let's look at the NIO TESOL conference Google site. This will give you information about the host, the American University in Cairo, the School of Continuing Education. It will give you the call for proposals. It will tell you how to register for the conference and to become a member of NIO TESOL. It will give you important dates, information and announcements, and how to contact the NIO TESOL Conference Organizing Committee. Also on the home, you'll see the flyer. At the bottom of the flyer, it gives you a link to submit your proposal, but I would recommend first to go to the call for proposals, which is also linked at the very bottom of this home page of the conference website. Now let's look at the call for proposals for the NIO TESOL conference. If you look at the left-hand side on the conference Google site under call for proposals, you'll have a link to the proposal submission form, a link to the types of sessions available to be selected for the conference, a checklist for writing and submitting effective conference proposals, and finally the proposal rubric, which you have originally printed out at the beginning of this workshop. Now we're going to examine the call for proposals more closely. First, you'll see the deadline for receipt of proposals, which is September 30th. Then is the conference theme, Navigating a Way Forward, Innovating and Innovating in TESOL. Following that is the description of the conference theme. After that, it lists the TESOL interest section threads. And then it also gives you additional information about the conference and what's offered there. Finally, it invites participants and gives the description of what participants should be. Now let's look more closely at the conference theme description. I have it here on the screen. I want you to read it and pick out what you think are some key words in this description. Go ahead and pause the recording and pick some key words and write them down. Now compare your keywords to these here. Blurred boundaries, so the classroom is no longer the traditional four walls. Innovators and innovators have to have creativity. flexibility, focus on collaboration and cooperation, have cultural awareness. What does it mean to be an innovator and an innovator? These build cohesive communities through fresh approaches in your curricular design, materials development, assessments, and use of technology. And finally, innovators and innovators build relationships and networks not only between teachers and students, but also a wider community. So again, let's focus on this area of the conference theme. Innovators and innovators transform the change and uncertainty surrounding them by building communities that foster participation, communication, and cooperation. In the language classroom, building cohesive communities means involves a fresh approach to curricular design, instructional methods, assessment, research and technology, as well as the development of relationships and networks among teachers, students, and other stakeholders. So the conference organizers want proposals surrounding these areas in terms of your language classroom and what you do in the language classroom that helps to build these communities and have fresh approaches in all of the areas mentioned. Now let's look at the audience. Who's going to be reading your proposal and or attending your session? The proposal reviewers, these will be members of the organizing committee. The attendees of the conference, both national and international, and finally the conference hosts. The conference is organized around these interest section threads. Young learners, English for academic purposes, English for specific purposes such as business, medicine, and law, technology, assessment, service or experiential learning, which is either doing some kind of service in the community or having experiences. The next one is collaborative learning, teacher education, and pedagogical administration. So when you're thinking about your proposal, think about which areas these would mainly be targeted to. And you could have more than one. So now let's focus on innovation and innovation by just first thinking of what you already do in the classroom. How is it innovative or innovative? How are you being creative or flexible or fostering a collaboration or cooperation? How are you building networks and communities? How are you using technology? This could be any technique that you use that works for you. You can share this as a possible session, or you can describe the experience you had using a technique that was new for you. We're now going to focus on the parts of a proposal. It consists of a title, which should be no more than 10 words. The maximum is 10. A summary, which will be in the program book, and this is a maximum of 50 words. And then the abstract, which is part of what the reviewers look at, and that's a maximum of 250 words. And then a biography of you and your additional presenters, and that's a maximum of 35 words. A quick tip for you here is to type all of this up in a Word document. This will make it much easier for you to transfer it to the proposal submission form. When preparing your proposal, I would suggest starting with your abstract. That is the real substance of your proposal, and the summary and the title are easier to do after you have the abstract written. Remember, it's no more than 250 words. Your abstract should introduce your topic, connect the topic to the field, and this should be both current and relevant. Indicate either a problem that needs to be solved, a need that needs to be filled, or a research gap. Then show how your presentation addresses this need, fills the gap, or solves the problem. And then include the significance of your session to the attendees. What are they going to gain by attending your session? Next, focus on your summary. This should be no more than 50 words. This is what goes in the program book, and the attendees use this to decide whether or not to come to your session. It's basically a shorter version of your abstract, so that's why I recommend that you start with your abstract first. Include specifically what you will do in the session and what the participants will gain from attending. This will be more likely for them then to know and be better able to decide to come to your session. And finally, your title. It should be no more than 10 words. Short, clear, and accurate. Don't sacrifice accuracy for catchiness. It should still represent what your session is about. Some other items to consider when developing your proposal is what type of session do you want? Are you going to be presenting research you have done? Do you want to get together with several colleagues and discuss a hot topic? Do you want to demonstrate a technique? Do you want to do basically a sales pitch of some technology you found useful? So you have to think about the session type, and I'll go into the types of sessions later on in the workshop. Also, consider the interest section thread that I talked about earlier. It can be more than one, and any equipment that you're going to need. If you're going to be using PowerPoint, do you need a data show? An internet connection? Are you going to be playing sound files? So all of these are what you need to take into account when developing your proposal. So here are the session types that will be offered at the NIOTSOL conference. Poster session for 20 minutes, a panel discussion for 45 minutes, a new 20 by 20 session that's 10 minutes, a presentation of either research or demonstrating a technique is 45 minutes, and a workshop where attendees are interactive and participate, that's 90 minutes. And I'm going to go over each one in greater detail in a moment. So the descriptions for each session type can be found under Call for Proposals, Types of Sessions. The first three I'm going to go over now are new to the conference this year. The first one is a poster session, which is basically an informal presentation. The presenter uses a paper poster to illustrate new ideas or research. So you have a combination of both images and text, graph, charts. The poster is accompanied by a 10-minute oral explanation and followed by a brief period of questions. There are several poster presentations happening at the same time in the same room. Small groups are going around to each one. So you will do this 10-minute explanation with questions 2 times for a total of 20 minutes. The panel discussion is 45 minutes, and this is where a small group of professionals are brought together in front of an audience to discuss one or more hot topics. And these professionals would be coming at the topic from different viewpoints. The audience asks questions, and then each member of the panel is given the opportunity to offer his or her point of view on the question. The goal is to get as many different viewpoints shared as possible so the audience can understand the complexities of the issue. And the participants will be provided with enough information to then reach their own conclusions. So for this one, you would have to gather a group of people that would be willing to discuss a topic. The next one is a 20 by 20 presentation, and this would last 10 minutes. This is basically a quick sales pitch of a creative idea, either using technology or not. And you would do this using 20 carefully chosen slides which advance every 20 seconds, hence the name 20 by 20. The presentation itself lasts for about 7 minutes, followed by 3 minutes for questions. I would encourage you to do one of these new session types. There will be information on the conference Google site. Here is some information on and samples of how to do a 20 by 20 presentation. These types of presentations are also known as PechaKucha. So you can visit the following websites here. These will also be on the conference Google site, as well as information on how to do a poster session. The last two session types are what has been usually offered at the Now TESOL conference, which is a presentation that's 45 minutes. It's usually a 30 to 35 minute talk covering research or demonstrating a new idea, then about 10 minutes for question and discussion with the audience. The last type is a workshop, which is 90 minutes. It's an interactive session, which the audience is guided through the steps of implementing a new idea or technique. The key difference between a workshop and a presentation is that most of the session is dedicated to giving the audience hands-on practice with a new idea or technique. Once you have decided on your session type, then you want to think about your interest section thread, and you can have up to 2. Again, just to review from earlier, we have young learners, English for academic purposes, English for specific purposes such as business, law, or medicine, technology, assessment, service or experiential learning, collaborative learning, teacher education, or pedagogical administration. So now that we've written our proposal with its abstract, summary, and title, we have our session type that we want, our interest section, and our biography. We're ready to submit our proposal. So now we're going to go to the conference site and choose the call for proposals and select the proposal submission form. Now you're just going to simply cut and paste from your Word document the title, the summary, the abstract, and the biography. Again, note the word maximum. Then you're going to choose your interest section threads. You can choose up to 2. The session type, the equipment that you need, and your contact information. So now I'm going to show you the proposal submission form, again under call for proposals in the conference site. Again, you're going to put your proposal title, your primary interest area, and second interest area. The session type, if you've forgotten about what the session descriptions are, you can click on the link and read about each session type again. So we have the poster session, panel discussion, 20 by 20, presentation and workshop choices. Here, the next part, you just cut and paste your abstract in from your Word document and your summary. Again, the summary is what the audience will use to select which sessions they will attend. So just to review again, you can choose the type of session. Once you click that link, it will bring you to the descriptions for the various session types. Then you want to put in the presenter's information, the main presenter, and then if you have any additional presenters. Here you want to insert your name as you would like it to appear in the program book and on certificates. All of this information, your name, what institution you're affiliated with, your position, your mobile phone number is very important. Also, enter a correct email address. This is very important because this is the main way you will be contacted. It will ask you to insert it twice to check and confirm its accuracy. Then, your biography. Put background information that demonstrates that you are qualified to present on your topic. If you have any additional presenters, you would enter in their information as well. And when you are finished, at the very bottom of the submission form, it will give you the submit button to submit. Remember, your title must match your session summary. The title and the summary must match the session thread and the session type, and your title and summary must match the abstract. So next is the proposal rubric, and this is how your proposal is going to be evaluated. The reviewers are going to look at and examine your proposal on 5 categories: the proposal title, your session summary, the abstract, the significance of the proposal content to the field, and relevance of the topic to the conference theme. So that's why it's important to read and understand the conference theme. And finally, language. How well written is your proposal? So here under Call for Proposals, you can look at the proposal rubric. I had asked you to print out the rubric before we started. So here you have the categories and the scoring. So they're rated from 1 to 5 on each category. 1 is poor, 5 is excellent. And then each category has a certain weight. So if we look at title, you want your title to attract the reader and also succinctly and accurately describe the session. For your summary, you also want the summary to attract the reader and succinctly and accurately describe the session. But note the weighting difference. The title is out of 10, the summary is out of 20. The next category is your abstract, and this is out of 30. So the abstract again is very important. You want your abstract to clearly match the summary, the title, and the session type, and also contribute to the field. For number 4, significance of proposal content to the field and relevance to the conference theme, this is out of 20, and you want your proposal to be based in research and practice that's current in the field and that's directly relevant to the issues outlined in the conference theme. Again, it's very important to read that theme that's in the call for proposals. And then finally, language is out of a total of 20 points. And you want your proposal to be very clear and succinctly written in excellent English. So the total score for proposals would be out of 100. So again, your proposal will be out of 100 points total. And to be accepted, you want 75 to 100. 60 to 74 is pending or borderline. And 59 and below would be rejected. Here you want to aim at having a proposal that is scoring mostly 4s and 5s. Now we're going to analyze some sample proposals. So go ahead and get the handout with the sample proposals A, B, and C, and get the proposal rubric. This part can be done individually, in pairs, or in groups. What you're going to do now is use the rubric to rate each sample and discuss your ratings either with a partner or in a group. I will then, on the next slide, give you the conference theme from last year, which is what these proposals are from. And you want to look at how the proposal is against the theme, the session type that was chosen, the interest sections that were chosen, and also those 5 major categories: title, abstract, session summary, the relevance to the theme and significance to the field, and the language. So I'm going to show the conference theme on the next slide here. Read it and pause the recording as you evaluate each sample A, B, and C. Now that you have your ratings, would you accept sample A, or sample B, or sample C? What are your reasons? So pause the recording here, and if you are in a pair or in a group, discuss the reasons for accepting or not accepting each sample. Now let's go over the results. Sample A and Sample C were accepted to the NIL-TESOL conference last year. They were both attractive, informative, each part matched the title, the session summary, the abstract, the session type, the interest sections. They were both outlining a need and showing how the session would solve it. They were both based in research and practice and contributed to the field. They were relevant to the theme, and they were both clear and well written. Sample B was rejected. The principal reasons were that the session type, the workshop, was not appropriate and did not indicate that there would be audience participation, which is a major part of having that 90 minutes, so then audience can get that hands-on experience. The abstract tried to cover too much, and it was slightly too long, and the reviewers deemed that it would not make a significant contribution to the field. So now we're going to do some brainstorming. I had you earlier think about what you currently do in your classroom or do as research projects. And what could you contribute to the conference? What innovative techniques or methods? How to use technology in the internet? What websites and tools you have used? So if you're in a group or with someone, make a list of all the ideas you come up with. If you're watching this by yourself, go to one of your colleagues or friends and just bounce off ideas off of each other. So remember, it's important to be different. Be innovative or innovative. Be specific. Know the subject well, so you can write a strong abstract, include a clear summary, have a clear, accurate title. Follow instructions. Those word counts are important. And please, 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 please proofread for errors. Again, the deadline is September 30th. When your proposal is ready, a final step is to use the checklist for writing and submitting effective conference proposals that can be found under the call for proposals. This goes over each element of your proposal so you can have that final check. Those proposals that get rejected tend to have repeated old ideas. They give the wrong impression of what would actually be happening in your session, and if they have poor grammar or other language problems. Some final points to consider. Submitting a conference proposal can be daunting, especially if you've never done it before. Don't be afraid to ask your friends or colleagues, especially those who have presented at conferences before. They can really help you refine your proposal. A point about NILE TESOL is a dynamic organization. Members come from many different backgrounds and have many interests and experiences. We warmly welcome new members and new presenters who want to make a contribution to the field of TESOL in Egypt, so consider becoming a member. Below is the website you can go to and look at the bottom for membership. It's an online membership form. I will leave you with this final thought. Even if your proposal is not accepted, the process of proposal writing is a valuable exercise and it trains you professionally. It is part of your professional development. So I'd like to thank you for going through this workshop on how to write and submit an effective conference proposal. I wish you good luck and we hope to see you in January. Thank you.